I always grew up thinking, oh, men do a lot of things. Why can't I do a lot of things? I always knew I was going to start my own business. We realised how inefficient mass market parcel delivery was operating. And we said, well, why don't we just start a parcel delivery company? It's literally looking at the entire stack, from operations to technology to the data to how we employ people, everything, how we can be 10x better in all ways. So direct replacement for DPD, Hermes, Yodel, just 10x better. So this round comes to around £11 million. And so totally 13 million raised. I want other Asian girls to think, oh, she did it, I can also do it.
Welcome to the Bay HQ, where we inspire, connect and guide the next generation of British Asians. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Today we have with us Murvah Iqbal, who's the co-founder and CEO of HIVED. How are you doing today?
Good, energetic as always.
Yeah, we've had a good long chat before we started recording, and we're probably going to run out of time because of that. But when you're growing up, and I want you to tell a particular story here because you've got a really cool story. Did you ever believe in yourself? Did you ever think one day you'd be able to do what you're doing today?
I think I always grew up thinking, oh, men do a lot of things. Why can't I do a lot of things? I was super competitive. That's probably started from my early football days. So I used to play football growing up with my brother, my older brother, all the time. And so I was super competitive and always wanted to be better than him. And that just made me every day play football. And then when I was around 10 years old, I got scouted for Manchester City. And then I grew up until 17 captaining Manchester City Ladies Football Club. So lots of competition in me. That's from really early days, but also just kind of had the mindset of you can do anything you want sort of thing. You don't have to follow the status quo. Try to, if they can do it, why can't I do it? I didn't really care about what I looked like or anything, just go for it. So yeah, I guess that gave me a lot of confidence early on and saying, yeah, I can do something cool.
Obviously what you've done since is really cool as well. But as a football fan, it's really cool to interview Man City captain.
Yeah.
So even though I support Man United, even then.
I also support Man United.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So it's fine.
How was that? If you're playing for Man City but you support Man United, did you ever
Man United didn't have a girls team for a very long time. They only started their girls team, a women's team, a few years ago actually. So they're quite late. Man City were really good, really early on. Have had a women's football team, invested a lot of money into the women's football for a very long time, and they're still doing amazing now. So I still support United, but I played for Man City. But I guess you have to get comfortable with that.
When you were in that team as well, because obviously there's not that many Asian women in football, right? Was there many people on your team, and how was that experience?
I was the only one on my team, and any time I played another team, I was the only one as well. It was just, I didn't realise it growing up that, oh, I'm the only sort of brown person here. And then as I got older and reflected back, I was like, oh, I was actually the only brown person ever playing. So yeah, I think I've been used to that surrounding, but like I said, I didn't really look at myself thinking, oh, I'm brown, I can't do this. I just thought, oh, these people do it, I can do it too.
And you didn't ever get treated differently or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I never let it get in the way. I just, was super confident and competitive, like I said. So I wasn't treated differently at all. I think my coaches were amazing growing up with me. And I think that's instilled a lot of discipline into me today. A lot of my coaches who trained me every single day, and that's helped along a lot.
It's great now because obviously now there's more and more women getting into football, and hopefully more people from Asian backgrounds as well. So I think it's hopefully good for them to hear as well that you had that experience, so positive.
100%. I think I want other Asian girls to think, oh, yeah, she did it, I can also do it. And we'll get a bit onto that in a bit, but I think it's super important to break the mold for future generations to say, look, oh, she did it, I can do it. And women's football has picked up crazily over the past few years, which is amazing to see. England obviously winning not too long ago and finally brought football home. And I think that, sparked a lot of young girls also thinking, this is a thing, I can do it. When I was growing up, women's football had no attention, but I could see it on the cusp it was coming. And it's a huge opportunity even today commercially for a lot of businesses are tapping onto it now, but it's exciting that it's finally having its space to grow.
Did you ever think of it as a potential career?
I did enter it, and a lot of the girls I used to play with are playing professionally now for England, Man City, Man United and stuff, but I didn't see it as a career. I was just kind of naturally quite good at football and just enjoyed it, and I saw it as a bit of fun, and you're training so many times a week, playing up and down the country in the weekends. I didn't see it as sort of a career or anything. I just saw me having a bit of fun, and I think growing up, having some outlet other than school is really good, whether that's creative, whether that's music, whether that's sports. And for me, I'm super sporty, and that was football. So I never saw it as a career, or suffered too many injuries to let it become a career.
What did you think of as a career at that point? What were you thinking to go into?
I always knew I was going to start my own business. From a very early age, I grew up with a family surrounded by businesses, small businesses. My dad never went to university. I think he dropped out of college maybe, but he started his own business. And so my dinner table table discussions were around business. My uncles launched one of the fastest growing independent food chains in the UK called Archie's. So from around 15 years old, I helped do all the social media for that. So it was quite ingrained into me that I found so much energy from business. I didn't find that much energy from school. I was actually not a really good school student, but around, business and sports and things like that, that's where I really felt energy. So yeah, I didn't really think anything about my career. All I knew is I was going to start a business at some point.
How was that social media experience? Because obviously that was in the early days a bit more, not calling us old, but...
No, it was when I was 15, so about 2010. And I remember just saying to my uncle, look, hey, I think, can I just create an Instagram for Archie's? And he was like, yeah, sure. Well, what's Instagram? And then I remember creating the handle at Archie's MCR, then had to change it because Archie's expanded, started growing nationally. But it was a really cool experience. Had obviously no budget, no marketing budget, but just learned how to be creative and learned the power of marketing, I guess. Saw it grow and develop, which was amazing. And just took all those tools, and that sort of sparked even further that, I wanted to start a business. I'm not particularly good at anything particular, but I just like...
That's an understatement.
No, I don't have a specific skill or anything that I've mastered. I just really enjoyed sort of the energy from business, talking about businesses, the creative side to it. And I got a lot of energy from it. So I knew quite early on that it was something I wanted to do. Had some ideas from quite early on about businesses. I was doing young enterprise at school and, different things like that. So that was definitely where my passion was, and I knew I wanted to start a business at some point. I think a lot of, Asian families kind of pressure you to do more traditional career paths. I kind of said no to medicine really early on. Thank you to my auntie who's a doctor. She said, no, don't do it. You're not going to enjoy it. And I kind of was brave enough then to say to my parents, nope, I'm not doing triple science. A levels, I don't enjoy it. And my parents were quite, supportive, like, hey, whatever makes you happy. So I was quite lucky in that sense, but I never wanted a traditional sort of academic career. I didn't find it enjoyable. I knew I always wanted to do something creative within business.
When you were thinking about starting a business then, after uni, what were you thinking about? What was the kind of ideas you had? And did you do some at uni as well?
Yeah, so in my second year of university back in 2016, I went to San Francisco and got exposure to all these big tech companies like Tesla, Google, etc. And I was like, this is what a fast growth startup is. I'd always been exposed to small businesses that, were growing. And for me, going to San Francisco was a hugely eye-opening. I was like, this is how you disrupt an old industry. Look at Elon Musk, how he's transformed the whole car industry. And look at all these big tech companies, and learned the science behind to startups like venture capital and all these things. So at that point, I was like, this is interesting, because back in 2016, the Europe ecosystem of startups has come a long way, but it was in its sort of infant stage. And in the US, it was way more mature. It was normal. So after university, I came back with that wisdom. I started reading a bit more into it. And then I got a job offer after university at consulting. I won't name the firm. And then I said, nah, this doesn't feel right for me. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. And then I was just figuring out essentially what I wanted to do. I knew if I didn't start my business early in my life, I might not ever start it later. So whilst now I don't have any kids, no anything, free time to kind of start a business, and didn't have any ideas at all. And then I met my current co-founder actually in San Francisco in 2016. He's super smart and we both got along. He had a lot of experience with family businesses as well. And so we always connected and stayed close, and realized, we wanted to start a business together. And so I had come from a background of advertising, marketing, like I said, and we saw the rise of e-commerce, and everyone started shopping online because of, the Shopify, all these things enabled shopping online so easy. And with the rise of e-commerce, you saw the rise of logistics surrounded by e-commerce, so a rise in delivery vans, etc. And I remember we sat outside Pret one day and I saw these delivery vans sort of driving around. I was like, why isn't there advertising on all these delivery vans? You can advertise this on buses and tubes and taxis, black cabs, all these white delivery vans are traveling inside central London all day, prime space. Why can't we, advertise on them? So that was the first idea. Vanvas, it was called, advertising on vans, where we would partner up with all subcontractors.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Where we'd partner up with all these parcel delivery companies and display advertising, and we'd give them a share of the money, and hopefully in return they would transition to electric vehicles. They never did. Vanvas was a small business, but it wasn't a fast-growing startup, which I always wanted.
How did that work, the transition to electric vehicles with the advertising?
So we would give them a revenue share for any advertising campaign, and we hoped that the extra money that they would receive would, enable them to transition and buy greener vehicles. But yeah, they never did. They just pocketed the money. But it wasn't a fast-growing business. It was a small business, but for me, I really wanted to create a unicorn, like a fast-growing, huge business. And so, but because we had GPS trackers installed inside all of these vans driving in central London, London, we realized how inefficient mass market parcel delivery was operating. The lack of technology, efficiency, how bad it was for the environment, all these diesel polluting vans in our city centres every single day, also the working environment for the van drivers. And it just seemed like an industry ripe for destruction. One of the lowest NPS scores for established industry, but also one of the fastest growing industries. Parcel delivery has a 20% compound annual growth rate. That was even before the pandemic. And since the pandemic, that's shifted e-commerce shopping online even further. So we were looking into it more and more, me and my co-founder, and we said, well, why don't we just start a parcel delivery company? So that was sort of the end of 2020. We decided, let's just start a parcel delivery company.
So was this during the pandemic, obviously?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. We started like the concept idea phase during the pandemic. And then January 2021, I started literally just getting on our bikes and delivering parcels and building the first version of what we built, the tech platform. And when we set out to build a parcel delivery company, we looked at it from the consumer perspective. Consumers now can order food really easily, can order Ubers and taxis and everything, but you still have no control over your parcel. When you order your parcel, you're not sure when is it arriving, when is it coming, can I change it or anything? And so the whole consumer experience was really lacking, the whole parcel delivery service element. So when we set out to build a parcel delivery company, it had to have the consumer, the recipient in mind first, but also the environment and the impact on that side as well. We're building parcel delivery from scratch. It has to have the climate in mind from default. And so we built out on a few principles. One, that was entirely carbon free, 10x better delivery service in all areas in terms of the delivery experience, the digital experience, and everything about it, and just parcel delivery for the 21st century. And that's been our, kind of our ethos going forward, and it's just grown rapidly since then.
What would you, if you were trying to explain like HIVED like a sentence to somebody, or like trying to explain to someone who never heard of what you do before, what would you say?
Direct replacement for DPD, Hermes, Yodel, just a 10x better parcel delivery network, parcel delivery for the 21st century.
And then, like you said, so you're trying to do that. You had the GPS data, which enabled you to do routes better than other people, right? And how else are you trying to stand out compared to these other platforms?
So we're vertically integrated. So we didn't just look at one thing and think, we're going to fix routing and that's the magic bullet to fix parcel delivery. It's looking at every single thing from the whole entire operations to the whole technology, the whole retail experience to the whole consumer experience, and just using modern technology and data to sort of make every element of the stack better. So that's in terms of which vehicles we use. So we don't just use vans. We have a multi-fleet approach depending on density of certain areas. The more control for the recipient if you want to reschedule your delivery, if you want to change, if you want to come at a certain time, those type of features. And also for the retailer side, carbon emission saving, scope 3 emissions are super hard for retailers to cut down on. They're relying on third parties. And one of their biggest things is transportation. They have to look at how to reduce their transportation from delivery. So offering that to customers as well. So it's not just one magic silver bullet, like this is what we do and that's why it's better. It's literally looking at the entire stack from the operations to technology to the data to how we employ people, everything, how we can be 10x better in all ways.
So obviously the people you've mentioned there as well, they're obviously already huge and established. And then you coming in from scratch with you and your co-founder. Some people might wonder how you'd be able to take this on. And I think a good example of to relate it to is like Monzo and the Kendra banks, right? Because obviously HSBC, Barclays, all those guys exist. So because they're so established already, it's very hard for them to make changes to their systems. And that's something which I guess you can do a lot quicker and faster than the established players. And how did you go about implementing that, right? So you had this idea as how we're going to change it. How did you start doing that?
You start by just starting. Literally, how we started was just literally me and my co-founder get on a bike, deliver parcels, and you can figure out then all the kind of improvements you can build. When we built out our first database and tech architecture, built it on literally 21st century principles. So, what you mentioned, all these older companies are built on archaic systems. They can't be as agile and flexible and change and implement a lot of the features at the speed that we can implement them. So really doing that whole experience from yourself and literally just getting out and starting, and then being really good at prioritizing what's really important first, because you can't build everything at once. What's really important? What can we not compromise on? Delivery experience for us. Yes, we're emission free and that's important, and but the delivery experience, 99% on time, first time delivery success rate, those kind of metrics, that's what we stick to. And everything we're doing is getting better and making sure we're upholding those metrics, especially as we scale. We've scaled quite a lot. We launched sort of in August 2021, and now we're working with Asos, we're working with Inditex, brands who own Zara, Massimo Dutti, Berkshire, Pull & Bear, and lots of SME brands around London, so like Candy Kittens, Minor Figures, Pip and Nut. We're launching with some major enterprises in the next few weeks. So it's where we're building something that both the merchants, retailers, and the consumers and recipients want at the same time. So being able to cater for both is difficult, but you just have to know what the customer wants, we have two customers. We have the recipient who's receiving the parcels, but the retailer merchants who we're delivering for. So just being really close to what do they want, and being also receptive to being able to change quickly, move quickly, iterate quickly, but making sure that we uphold our delivery statistics always.
And as such a new company, right, getting those kind of names on board is very impressive. How did you get them on board? Like, how did you, as a new company, say to these huge companies, like, yeah, you can trust us, we're going to deliver on time? How did you get that relationship with them?
Hard work. No, I think from the outset, I knew, so I take on all the commercial side, all the business development, all the new business. I knew from the outset that, dream customers, we want to be shipping for every single big brand out there. And the Asoses and the Inditex and Zara's, etc. They know that their recipients, their customers want a modern experience, etc. So it's kind of a need in the industry, but then you have to have the scale, the systems, the operations, the technology to also be able to show them that we're serious. Give us your parcels, trust us. And then once you start nailing the first few customers, everyone comes knocking on your door to work with you because they know that, we're working for this brand, working for that brand. The delivery experience is really good. And also the way it works is if we just do our job amazingly every single day, word of mouth travels really quickly. So recipients, they will now start badgering so the retailers, please can you start shipping with HIVED? Please can you start shipping with HIVED? I received my other parcels from HIVED. I want to receive more parcels from HIVED. So if we just stick to our promise and just prioritize end recipient and build an amazing delivery experience, the rest happens.
And obviously you've been on a rocket ship in the last year and a half or two, right? How's that experience been for you? What's been the highlights and the lowlights for you?
It's incredibly hard. Anyone always asks me, I want to start a business. I'm like, are you sure? If I really knew what I was getting myself into, how I would think about it properly. I think because I was so naive and young that I just kind of went through it. But the highlights obviously have just been building an amazing team. Really, we've got a head office now of around 40 and every single one of them is absolutely incredible. And seeing their development is something that I incredibly proud of and motivates me every single day, being able to work with amazing people and also just build an amazing brand. When I go out on the road and I see a HIVED vehicle, or yesterday I actually placed an order from Zara and HIVED was delivering it. That's pretty cool. That's the highlights. That makes me proud. And just being able to make a tangible impact to the world at the same time. I always wanted to create a business that had good impact, and this combines all of the above. The lowlights though, you sacrifice absolutely everything. Well, we've been speaking of it, you'll know how busy I am, but you literally sacrifice every single hour of your day and there is no shortcut to it. There's different startups and different pace. Our ambition is to be one of the fastest growing startups in Europe. I think we're on track to do so. And so that comes at a huge sacrifice. At weekends, birthdays, not seeing your family as much as you used to, which is really difficult for me because I'm such a family person. Friends' weddings, not being able to attend or attending half there, half not, really sacrificing everything. And then when you do have that odd moment of free time, you just want to connect with nature. So then you just disconnect from a lot of people and it can be very lonely, it can be very isolating, but it's really rewarding. It's like a love-hate relationship. I love it and I hate it at the same time, but it's not easy. And yeah, I would, if anyone wants to start a company, just always know what they're getting themselves into, because I think there's a huge glamour side to it and it's been glamorized a lot, but it's not that glamorous when you're in the office every single day till 10, 11 p.m. at night and you're there the next day, and it's not healthy and sustainable. And that's why I'm so proud now that I'm managing to build an amazing team that can reduce that. But yeah, it's not easy.
In what you said there about when you get the parcels in from HIVED yourself, it's almost one of those things as well when your family first got their first parcel from HIVED. They're like, oh, look what we've got. And your friends and stuff as well. I can imagine that's quite a nice moment to share with people as well.
Yeah, when my friends, send me photos of vans or HIVED cars that they've seen or they received a parcel, that's, makes me so happy. Or one of my other favourite things is we have a Slack channel called Team Praise. Every time we get a positive Trustpilot review, it pings off there. And every single time it pings, I look at it instantly and it makes me happy. And now, even though we've got loads of reviews, it still makes me happy every single time. So that is really cool. But yeah, it is hard at the same time.
And you mentioned there as well about the hours and the sacrifices involved as well. And I think it's so important for people listening as well to realize you've got to kind of decide, you're making the sacrifice because you want to grow as fast as you are.
Yeah.
For example, you could not make some of the sacrifice but grow slower.
Yeah.
And it's you really understanding yourself and your mission to make those decisions. And it's one of those things I think people, like you said, they can't sleepwalking into it. They've got to decide, okay, if I'm going to want to get to this place, I've got to work this hard. And you can't lie to yourself about it. You've got to be honest and like, okay, do I want to do this or do I not want to do it?
Yeah, you have to. This has to be your, like, this is my number one priority, especially when you raise venture capital and the expectation is to grow as quickly as possible. And just this sort of impatient person that I am, I'm perfectionist at the same time. I'm like, why aren't we moving quicker? And then, things just take time. But yeah, you have to be aware of what you're getting yourself into. You have to be really aware, because then if you're not aware and you're working so hard, you're going to constantly feel upset when you're missing out on friends' birthdays and going out and seeing all your friends on holidays. And you just scroll through Instagram when you're just like having a dead moment at work at like 11 o'clock and seeing everyone having a great time on Friday night. And you're like, but you have to be aware of what you're getting yourself into, because I am, and I'm okay with that. So generally day to day, I'm very happy, but it's still really hard work.
You mentioned there about the venture capital side of things as well, right? Not every company should raise venture capital, right? It depends on like your situation. Why did you raise venture capital for HIVED, and how did you go about doing that as well?
Yeah, no, good question. So venture capital isn't for every single company out there, for sure. There's pros and cons to it. I knew that I wanted to build a unicorn very early on. I knew I wanted to build one of the fastest growing companies and really take it to as big as I possibly could take it. And with that, venture capital just fuels growth and allows you to move quicker and go quicker. So for me, that was from the outset, that's what I wanted to do. That's not to say that, I don't think funding announcements and things should be sort of, I know why they're important, I know why they're done, but I don't think those should be celebrated as milestones. For me, the milestones we're celebrating internally is landing the new big customers or getting to that next stage or what we need to get to. But so venture capital is not for everyone. It comes with a lot of pressure because you have to grow quick. You have a board. You have to, so you lose, that freedom of saying, actually this year, next 2 years, want to grow really slowly because I want you to take it easy and things. Nope, you have to just grow. But also, I wanted that as well. So it really depends what type of business you're building as well. We're a tech-first company, and technology has the power to disrupt old industries, but we have to move quick. But yeah, the way I went about it, so I actually led the fundraising round for our company, and to be honest, I had no warm intros, no warm contacts, no nothing with the venture capital space. When we started HIVED, I had no friends who were startup founders, had no friends who were in venture capital, just literally.
I'm glad you carried on that. I thought you just because I had no friends at all. Awkward.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And so it was a huge big black box to me, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. I've read all about venture capital. Now how do I go and get some venture capital? And so sort of in around May 2021 time, I was just making my list of venture capital funds that I wanted to speak to, and came across a really cool, interesting fund called Pale Blue Dot, a climate tech fund out of Sweden. I was like, oh, this looks like a cool fund. I really like what the mission is, really like what they're doing, really like, everything about them. Oh, and then the website had book diversity office hours. And that was like the first venture capital website that I'd seen to have done that. And that gave me a positive feeling as well. So I was like, okay, I'll just book office hours. Just kind of finishing off my pitch deck at this point, really rusty. And then spoke to one of the partners, had a really good call with Heidi. And Heidi said, I think my partner, the other partner, Hampus, will like this. He kind of likes this space and likes companies like this. So I said, okay, cool. So she introduced us to Hampus. Me, Hampus, and Matthias, my co-founder, got on like a house on fire. Really good energy straight away. And a few days later, he gave us a term sheet. And term sheet just means sort of like intent to invest. And at that point, we were like, whoa, this is cool. And then at that point, we spoke to a few more venture capitalists and fill up the round. And it happened quite quickly. But that was also in 2021, which is a different time to now. And so that happened. And that was interesting because I was like, I had no experience, no contact with venture capitalists. Now being backed by one of the leading venture capital firms in Europe, which was amazing. And that sort of spiraled the journey. And now we've just closed another round with Planet A from Germany and Maersk Growth, the venture arm for Maersk, the big shipping logistics company. And so we have amazing backers. And now it's sort of how far, can we take this? And I believe like we're just at the really early start of our journey still.
So this is being released after you made that announcement, right? So can you tell us how much this round was?
Yeah. So this round comes to around £11 million, and the previous round was circa 2 million. So totally 13 million raised.
I think what's interesting as well is that so many people don't think that's possible for them. And like I said, venture capital isn't the goal, but venture capital can make you grow a lot faster. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people out there who maybe have a company which it might not be profitable straight away, but it could make a really big impact later down the line. But they don't even try because they think, there's no chance I'm going to get venture capital. Yep. So I think it's always good to hear these stories like yours to show it is possible for people from our backgrounds, especially people from like diverse female backgrounds as well, because we all know there's a huge problem there when not enough people are getting funded. You mentioned as well before we started recording about venture capital isn't the goal for you, right? It's a means to an end.
Yep.
and you're trying to get profitable as quickly as you can. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to in the future in terms of milestones around that?
It's interesting because in the past few years, you saw like a huge influx in venture capital investing in startups, and that's come crashing down. And for me and my co-founder, we've always been lean and efficient as much as possible. I mean, for the money that we raise, it sounds a lot, but in terms of venture capital and startup, well, there's a lot more money out there, but we purposely didn't want to over-raise too much and wanted to make sure that, we felt the pressure to make sure that hitting our milestones and hitting our goals as soon as possible. You always want to reinvest in the business. You don't want to just be profitable and just keep the money. No, you want to reinvest into growth. So for the next few milestones for us is just making sure that every element of the business is healthy and sustainable, which we are on a really good track, and making sure we're hiring the right people in the right place, and also expansion. We need the capital, to expand, and that's the main reason why we took on this round. But in terms of the day-to-day business, I can go to sleep comfortably at night knowing it's in a good state, and we're using venture capital to kind of expand and fuel that growth. So it's always super important to make sure your business metrics are right always, because we saw now with the downturn, it's incredibly hard now to raise venture capital as opposed to what it was over a year ago. So the benchmark, those standards that bar's been raised. So it's important to make sure you have a good underlying solid business that actually works. And that was, the whole goal for me and my co-founders. We built a business that, financially really works. So we don't have to be over reliant on venture capital and constantly fundraise. We will fundraise to ensure that we scale and grow quickly, but not to, support the business and prop it up every day.
So you mentioned as well that you one day want to become a unicorn, right? But what's the dream beyond that as well? Like, what are you looking forward to? What's the moonshot idea? Like, this is what Hive can someday be.
Yeah, so I think HIVED, we're in prime position to set up the infrastructure for the way electric vehicles, the whole world sort of operates. We're moving to, we've got these huge goals as a country to get to, carbon neutral, etc. Miles away. We're in prime position. We're so far advanced in HIVED in understanding the infrastructure needed to kind of support this shift to electric. So I can't say too much, but yes, we're starting off in parcels delivery, but there's a lot more verticals that we will be going into and tapping into later this year, which we're extremely excited about. Logistics is the core underpinning for society. So we're not just a parcels delivery company. We're going to people's homes every single day. Logistics has the power to change so many industries. If you look at Amazon is a great logistics company and has built a huge platform off the back of that, and we have similar ambitions. So not just parcels delivery company, and hopefully later on this year you'll see some of the other cool things that we're now leveraging off the back of our infrastructure, which I'm extremely excited about. And what keeps me up at night is like, yes, this is really cool, this is where we're heading. But we're super in the forefront of the innovation in the whole EV space, but not just the EV space. But I can't say no more.
So really exciting to hear about that in the future. We'll get you on again in a year's time or so. That once it's been announced, you can talk about it, because I think it's always a tough thing when something's really exciting, but you're not allowed to say it.
Yeah.
And I always end up accidentally saying things I shouldn't say. So I'm always quite careful as well now. But we're going to have to move to quick fire questions now. So first one is, who are 3 British stations that you'd love to shout out that you think people should be paying attention to who are listening?
Yeah, well, I have to repay the favour, Sidi. I know she gave me a shout, but generally we shared an investor and we met at a barbecue one time, and I think she's doing amazing things. I use Why Hungry quite a lot. We use it for our team lunches quite a lot. I've used it for my own few dinner parties. I think they're building a great product and a great experience. So definitely Sidi, I think she's doing amazing things. Secondly, Namrata. She's founder of a company called Value, and they're in the climate space as well. And she's managed to grow super quickly, launch with some amazing customers already, and has done a fantastic job there. And the third one is Rugia, who is founder of a company called Seabound, YC backed, and backed by lower carbon capital as well, and doing amazing things. So 3 females raise venture capital who are all super inspiring to me.
So next one is, if people listening right now could reach out to you for help or guidance, what should they reach out to you about?
I think reach out if you're considering starting a company and want to know the actually truth behind starting a company, and if you're in that phase of should I go for it, should I not, I'm happy to give you some advice about that, and also breaking into that venture capital space, because I remember not knowing how to break into that venture capital space and seeing this huge daunting thing. So always happy to support people there. Those 2 things I think I can help.
And then on the flip side, is there anything you need help with or that Hive needs help with?
What do we need? Well, probably a lot. But I'd say just support us. If you see Hive as a checkout option as on when you're shopping, select Hive for your delivery partner, and hopefully you'll have a great delivery experience, and hopefully we'll be delivering all your parcels soon.
So thank you so much for coming on. Have you got any final words to the audience? Final
words to the audience? I think, look, I know there's not many brown females who start companies and do it, but I think it's definitely possible. I think people have to believe in themselves a bit more, and hopefully, my story and stories that you've heard on the Bay HQ before can kind of inspire you all to say they look like me, I can also do it as well, instead of looking like someone that you don't look up to, that someone that doesn't resonate with you, doesn't come from the same background. So yeah, I think this in it, you're building an amazing community here. So everyone listening should just continue and hopefully feel inspired.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for listening. It means a huge amount to us, and we don't think you realise how important you are, because if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, if you leave us a 5-star review, it makes a world of difference. And if you believe in what we're trying to do here, to inspire, connect and guide the next generation of British Asians, if you do those things, you can help us achieve that mission, and you can help us make a bigger impact. And by doing that, it means we can get bigger guests, we can host more events, we can do more for the community. So you can play a huge part. So thank you so much for supporting us.